The emergency session lasted 6 hours behind closed doors at WTA headquarters in St. Petersburg, Florida. Executives examined spreadsheets that revealed a reality few wanted to accept. Ticket income was down 34% from forecasts, broadcasting agreements were under pressure, and insurance claims were pouring in from sponsors who had invested millions for exposure they ultimately never gained. At the center of the controversy stood a 20-year-old Filipina whose popularity had, according to the official statement, created an unsustainable competitive atmosphere. The ruling was unanimous, unprecedented, and crushing. Eala was suspended from WTA events indefinitely. Yet as the announcement spread through the tennis community, as fans reacted with anger, and as players split into opposing camps, a larger question surfaced. Was this truly about financial losses? Or was the WTA finally confronting something far bigger? March 27, 2026. The Miami Open quarterfinals were expected to showcase women's tennis at its finest. Instead, they turned into a scene of disorder that tournament officials would never forget. Eala had just defeated Victoria Mboko in a thrilling 3-set contest lasting 2 hours and 47 minutes. The match itself was outstanding, highlighting the 20-year-old Filipina's transformation from wildcard sensation into a legitimate top 20 challenger. But what followed the final point was far from outstanding. As Eala lifted her arms in celebration, the crowd surged forward. Thousands of Filipino supporters, already filling the 14,000-seat stadium to capacity, moved toward the court. Security personnel formed a desperate human barrier, but it wasn't enough. Fans flooded the baseline, waving flags, chanting loudly, and reaching out toward their hero. Eala, always gracious, remained to acknowledge them, signing autographs, posing for photographs, and attempting to manage a situation that had spiraled completely beyond control. The scenes outside the venue were even more troubling. Thousands of additional fans, unable to secure tickets, had gathered in outdoor viewing areas. When Eala's victory became official, they also rushed toward the entrances, overwhelming security checkpoints. 4 individuals received treatment for minor injuries, while 2 were hospitalized due to heat exhaustion. The incident became international news, and not for positive reasons. Eala mania, as one Philippine publication had labeled it, had finally reached a breaking point. Tournament officials convened an emergency meeting that evening. The figures they reviewed were astonishing. Ticket sales for Eala's matches had been extraordinary. Every session featuring the Filipina sold out within hours. Yet the infrastructure simply could not accommodate the demand. Stadiums designed for 14,000 spectators were being overwhelmed. In the days following the Miami chaos, the true scale of the financial impact became evident. Broadcast partners were furious. Eala's matches, while generating enormous viewership in the Philippines and throughout the global Filipino community, created major scheduling problems. Her quarterfinal against Mboko lasted nearly 40 minutes longer than expected, pushing the evening session into prime time and disrupting carefully planned advertising breaks. Advertisers who had paid premium rates for guaranteed exposure found their commercials delayed or moved. From a revenue standpoint, Eala is both a blessing and a challenge, one tournament financial officer told reporters anonymously. She fills seats like nobody else, but the operating costs are enormous. And when things go wrong, we're the ones responsible. The numbers painted a complicated picture. Eala's matches generated 48% higher ticket revenue than comparable sessions involving other players. Merchandise carrying her name represented nearly a quarter of all tournament retail income. Sponsors competed to be associated with her, willing to pay premium prices for courtside visibility. Yet the expenses were equally significant. Security budgets had to be tripled for Eala's matches. Additional medical personnel were assigned to every session. Insurance premiums for the tournament were already projected to increase by 22% in 2027, with underwriters specifically citing Eala-related crowd incidents as a contributing factor. The final setback came from broadcast partners. Several international networks, frustrated by the unpredictability of Eala's matches, demanded revised contracts. They wanted guarantees, guaranteed start times, guaranteed durations, and guaranteed commercial breaks. When tournament officials could not provide those assurances, the networks threatened to reduce coverage of future WTA events. The WTA found itself facing a difficult crossroads. April 2, 2026. The WTA released a statement that sent shockwaves throughout the tennis world. Following a comprehensive review of recent tournament operations and player conduct, the WTA board has made the difficult decision to indefinitely suspend Alexandra "Alex" Eala from participation in all WTA-sanctioned events. This decision was not made lightly, but was deemed necessary to ensure the safety of players, officials, and fans, as well as the financial sustainability of our tournaments. The statement cited repeated crowd management issues, unsustainable operational costs, and an unmanageable competitive environment as factors behind the decision. It acknowledged Eala's remarkable talent and popularity but concluded that the current situation could not continue. The tennis world erupted. Within hours, the hashtag #LetEalaPlay was trending across 27 countries. Filipino supporters flooded social media with messages of outrage and disbelief. Players, both active and retired, offered reactions ranging from shock and anger to cautious support for the WTA's decision. Novak Djokovic, who had defended Eala following the Australian Open scheduling controversy, was among the first to respond. "This is not how you handle success. You don't punish a player for being popular. You adapt. You evolve. You figure it out. Banning her is admitting failure." Coco Gauff, Eala's friend and occasional doubles partner, responded emotionally. "I'm heartbroken for Alex. She's done nothing wrong except excel at her job and inspire millions of people. The WTA should be celebrating her, not punishing her." Behind the scenes, the WTA locker room fractured along unexpected lines. Some players quietly supported the suspension. They had grown tired of competing in what felt like road environments every time they faced Eala. They resented the scheduling disruptions, the crowd noise, and the constant focus on a single player. One veteran, speaking anonymously, told reporters, "It's not her fault, but it's also not fair to the rest of us. We work just as hard. We deserve to compete under normal conditions." Others quickly came to Eala's defense. Jessica Pegula, who ended Eala's 2025 Miami run and faced her again this year, was especially vocal. "I've played against her twice in Miami. Both times the crowd overwhelmingly supported her. And honestly, it was amazing. It made the sport better. To punish her for that is wrong." Iga Swiatek, who had been stunned by Eala in the 2025 quarterfinals, offered a balanced perspective. "I know what it's like to lose to her in front of her fans. It's not easy, but that's sports. That's competition. If we cannot handle that reality, perhaps we're in the wrong line of work." The WTA Players' Council convened an emergency session. Reports indicated the discussion became heated, with some members arguing the suspension established a dangerous precedent, while others insisted the organization needed to prioritize the broader interests of the tour. Eala, informed about the meeting, decided not to participate. Sources close to her said she was heartbroken but determined not to engage in public disputes. She had always allowed her tennis to speak for itself. She wasn't about to change that approach now. If the WTA believed suspending Alex Eala would solve its problems, it dramatically underestimated the strength of her supporters. Within days of the suspension announcement, demonstrations erupted outside WTA headquarters in St. Petersburg. Thousands of Filipino supporters, many traveling from different parts of the country, gathered carrying signs that read, "Free Eala," and "Tennis without Eala is nothing." The protests remained peaceful, but they were impossible to overlook. Online, the reaction proved even stronger. A petition demanding the WTA reverse its decision collected 2.3 million signatures during its first week, becoming the fastest-growing petition in tennis history. Filipino communities worldwide organized boycotts of WTA events, threatening to withhold the ticket purchases and viewership that had helped fuel the tour's profitability. Sponsors paid attention. Nike, Eala's primary apparel partner, released a carefully crafted statement expressing concern regarding the decision. Babolat, her racket sponsor, went further, warning that it would re-evaluate its relationship with WTA events if the suspension remained in place. Philippine-based sponsors BPI, Globe, and Milo were even more direct, announcing they would suspend all WTA-related marketing activities until the situation was resolved. The financial pressure was immediate and substantial. WTA officials who had calculated the consequences of losing Eala had not anticipated the consequences of upsetting her supporters. Sponsorship funds previously committed for 2027 suddenly became uncertain. Broadcast partners, already uneasy after the Miami incidents, began asking increasingly difficult questions regarding the tour's long-term stability. April 15, 2026. Alex Eala's legal representatives filed a formal appeal with the Court of Arbitration for Sport. The 47-page filing presented a devastating argument against the WTA. It claimed the suspension violated fundamental standards of due process, that Eala had never been formally informed of specific violations, and that the decision was, quote, arbitrary, capricious, and motivated by factors unrelated to the stated justification, end quote. More significantly, the appeal included testimony from security specialists who argued the crowd issues in Miami were entirely foreseeable and preventable. According to those experts, tournament organizers had failed to implement adequate crowd management procedures despite receiving clear warnings following incidents at the Australian Open earlier in January. If the WTA wanted to address crowd safety, they had months to do so, the appeal stated. Instead, they chose to blame a 20-year-old player for their own operational shortcomings. The filing also highlighted the selective nature of the punishment. Other athletes throughout tennis history had attracted enormous and passionate crowds. Serena Williams at the US Open. Roger Federer at Wimbledon. Novak Djokovic in Serbia. None had ever faced suspension because of their popularity. Alex Eala is being punished for one reason only, the appeal concluded. She succeeded in a way the WTA did not anticipate and cannot control. That is not a violation of rules. That is a failure of leadership. The Court of Arbitration for Sport agreed to fast-track the matter, scheduling a hearing for May 15. For the next month, Eala's career remained uncertain. June 2026. Roland Garros. Paris. Alex Eala stepped onto court Philippe Chatrier for her first Grand Slam appearance since the suspension. The crowd immediately rose to its feet. Thousands of Filipino flags waved beneath the Paris sunshine. Chants of, "Let's go, Alex," echoed throughout the iconic red clay venue. It was a familiar scene, one that had unfolded in Melbourne, Dubai, Indian Wells, and Miami. But now it carried a different meaning. This was no longer simply fandom. This was solidarity. This was a declaration. This was millions of people telling the tennis establishment, you tried to silence her, and you failed. Eala's opponent was a French wildcard, a hometown favorite expected to enjoy overwhelming crowd support. Instead, the stadium transformed into what many described as Little Manila. Every point won by Eala produced thunderous applause. Every rally felt like a celebration. She won in straight sets, 6-3, 6-2. After match point, she dropped her racket, covered her face with both hands, and cried. In the stands, her family cried as well. Her coaches, friends, and supporters all shared a moment that extended far beyond tennis. Later, during her press conference, Eala was asked what the occasion meant to her. It means everything, she said, her voice breaking with emotion. Not just for me. For every person who ever felt they didn't belong. For anyone who felt their voice didn't matter. For anyone who believed the system was against them. The WTA attempted to suspend Eala. They attempted to silence the most popular player in women's tennis. They attempted to solve operational failures by punishing a 20-year-old athlete who had done nothing wrong. The strategy backfired spectacularly. The Court of Arbitration for Sport overturned the suspension. Sponsors threatened to leave. Supporters protested in the streets. And Eala, throughout the entire ordeal, maintained the grace and dignity that had made her beloved from the beginning. Now she is back on the court, winning matches, inspiring millions, and proving that no bureaucracy can stop a movement. The WTA's credibility may never fully recover, but tennis itself, the sport, the competition, the spectacle, remains stronger than ever. Was the suspension the biggest mistake in WTA history? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe now for daily WTA updates, match analysis, and stories that go far beyond the final score.